Let me ask you a daring question. Have you ever wondered why so many men secretly fantasize about finishing on you? Why they don't always say it out loud, but when you catch a glimpse in their eyes, you can almost feel that desire bubbling under the surface. It's not just a physical act. It's not just about the release. It's layered with psychology, vulnerability, dominance, intimacy, and connection. And once you understand this fantasy, you'll stop seeing it as something dirty or taboo, and you'll start to recognize it for what it really is, one of the most powerful windows into the male mind. Because here's the truth, when a man imagines finishing on you, he's revealing three things at once: his hunger for closeness, his longing to be fully accepted, and his primal desire to mark intimacy with something raw and real. It's about trust, it's about being wanted, and it's about creating a moment so intense that it lives in both of your bodies long after the lights go out. So tonight, I'm going to take you inside the male psychology of this fantasy. I'll show you the 5 deep reasons why men secretly crave it, and more importantly, how understanding these reasons can make you magnetic in his eyes. Because once you get this, you'll not only see what drives him, you'll know how to tap into it in ways that make him addicted to you. Reason 1Z, the desire for total surrender for men. Finishing is the peak of vulnerability. It's the moment where their body takes over, where they can't hold back, where they give in completely. And when he fantasizes about finishing on you, what he's really craving is the ultimate form of surrender. Think about it. He spends so much of his life in control. He's expected to be composed, strong, strategic. Even in bed, he's usually the one leading, performing, making sure you're satisfied. But in that one raw moment, when he finishes on you, he gets to let go of all of it. He gets to lose control in the most primal, unfiltered way, and you become the witness to it. This is why it's so powerful to him, because in that instant, he's showing you a side of himself he hides from the world, the unpolished, unguarded, utterly human part. And if you welcome it, if you look at him with acceptance and even desire as he surrenders like that, you make him feel safe in a way he doesn't experience anywhere else. Reason 2, the symbol of possession and desire. Here's the raw truth for men. Finishing on you isn't just about pleasure. It's about symbolism. It's about saying, "You're mine, I want you, I claim you." Now, let me be clear, this isn't about ownership in a toxic way. It's about passion. It's about expressing that his desire for you is so overwhelming, so uncontrollable, that he has to leave his mark. It's primal. It taps into something ancient, something animalistic. And that's why men find it so erotic, because it's not just an act, it's a statement. It's him saying, "I don't just want you, I need you." But here's where it gets interesting. What men crave even more than doing it is your reaction to it. If you meet his fantasy with disgust, he'll feel shame. If you meet it with acceptance, he'll feel relief. But if you meet it with enthusiasm, if you show him that his rawest desire excites you, that's when he feels truly unleashed. That's when you stop being just a lover and become the one woman who sees him, all of him, and doesn't flinch. Reason 3, the fantasy of visual intimacy. Men are visual creatures. They don't just feel pleasure. They watch it. They see it. And one of the reasons finishing on you is such a powerful fantasy is because it's visual confirmation of their desire. It's physical proof that they lost themselves in you. Think about it. When a man finishes on you, he sees the evidence of his pleasure on your body. And that image, it brands itself in his mind. It becomes a memory he replays again and again because it's tied to both his release and your acceptance of it. That visual is intoxicating to him. And there's another layer. When he sees you covered in his release, he feels like he's taken intimacy to the next level. It's no longer abstract. It's right there, visible, undeniable. That's why it's such a turn on for him, because it makes the invisible visible. It turns desire into something physical, something he can see, touch, and remember. We've already peeled back 3 layers of this fantasy: his craving for surrender, his desire to mark passion, and his need for visual intimacy. But if you think that's the whole story, you're only scratching the surface, because this fantasy isn't just about lust. It's about what finishing on you represents to him on the deepest, most psychological levels. And that's where we need to go now, into the final 2 reasons why men secretly crave this, but rarely have the courage to admit it. Reason 4Z, ultimate test of acceptance. This is where it gets profoundly emotional. For a man, finishing on you is a test, a silent, unspoken question. Do you accept all of me, even the messy, raw, imperfect parts? You see, men are taught from a young age to hide their messiness, to clean up, to keep it neat, to never show the parts of themselves that might be too much. They're conditioned to believe that their desires could scare you off, that their needs might be a burden, that their pleasure isn't something you actually want to see. So when he fantasizes about finishing on you, what he's really fantasizing about is you saying yes to his whole self, not just the polished version, not just the charming version, not just the man who holds it together, but the man who unravels in front of you, the man who can't hold back, the man who's messy, vulnerable, and primal. And here's the beautiful part: if you show him acceptance in that moment, if you don't just tolerate it, but actually embrace it, you're giving him one of the rarest gifts a man can receive: freedom. The freedom to be unapologetically himself with you. And that freedom bonds him to you in a way that sex alone never could. Because here's the truth: most people don't know intimacy isn't just about bodies touching. It's about souls relaxing. It's about knowing I can be all of me here and I won't be judged. And when a man feels that from you, he doesn't just desire you, he trusts you. And that trust is the foundation of a connection that can't be broken. Reason fifi, the thrill of taboo. Now, let's talk about the final reason men fantasize about finishing on you. And this one is primal, edgy, and deeply psychological. It's the thrill of the taboo. For so long, society has labeled sex, and especially the messiness of sex, as dirty, shameful, something to be hidden. Men internalize that message too. They learn to be discreet, to clean up quickly, to never be too much. So when they imagine finishing on you, what they're really playing with is the forbidden. The act itself feels raw, wild, rebellious. It breaks the rules of what sex is supposed to look like. And do you know what happens when people break taboos together? They bond, feel like co-conspirators, like they're sharing a secret the rest of the world can't touch. That's why this fantasy is so intoxicating to him. Because it's not just physical, it's psychological rebellion. It's the two of you stepping into a private world where no one else's rules apply. Here's the kicker: the more he feels like he can explore that taboo side of himself with you, the less he feels the need to hide it or seek it elsewhere. When you become the safe place where he can live out his fantasies, you don't just satisfy him, you become irreplaceable. So what do you do with this knowledge? Now that you understand the 5 deep reasons behind this fantasy: surrender, possession, visual intimacy, acceptance, and taboo, you might be asking, okay, but what do I do with this? How do I use this understanding to create real intimacy instead of just making him happy for one night? And this is where it gets exciting, because when you know the psychology behind a man's fantasies, you gain an incredible power, the ability to make him feel both desired and deeply understood. You stop being just physical and start being unforgettable. So how do you do it? Let me give you a few scenarios. Scenario wave T, building anticipation through words. Even if you never actually let him finish on you, simply acknowledging the fantasy can electrify him. Imagine you're touching him and you lean in and whisper, "I know what you want to do to me. I can see it in your eyes." That alone will light him up, because you've just proven that you see him. You've caught onto his secret. And that makes him feel exposed, vulnerable, and incredibly turned on. If you want to take it further, tease him with words: "I love how much you want that, but I'm going to make you wait." This blends his need for taboo, his craving for acceptance, and his addiction to anticipation, all in one. Scenario 20, using acceptance to deepen trust. Let's say you decide to actually let him live out the fantasy. The key here is your reaction. Remember, what he's craving most isn't the act itself, it's your acceptance of it. So if you meet him with shame or indifference, you crush the fantasy. But if you meet him with presence, with eye contact, with a soft smile, with a sigh of satisfaction, you make him feel like his deepest desire has been met with love instead of judgment. That's powerful. That's unforgettable. That's how you take a physical act and turn it into an emotional bond. Scenario 3D, playfulness to diffuse the taboo. Sometimes this fantasy carries so much taboo energy that it can feel overwhelming. That's where playfulness comes in. Imagine he finishes on you, and instead of making it heavy or awkward, you laugh together, you tease him, you kiss him after. That lightness transforms the act from something dirty into something intimate and fun. And that's what men secretly crave, not just the act, but the sense that you're with them in it, heart and soul. The deeper lesson: it's never just about sex. Here's what I need you to hear loud and clear: this fantasy, like so many others men have, is never just about sex. It's about meaning, it's about psychology, it's about emotional needs hiding inside physical acts. When you understand that, you stop being scared of his fantasies. You stop judging them. Instead, you start asking, what does this mean to him? What need is he trying to meet? And how can I create a space where he feels safe exploring it with me? That's what makes you unforgettable. That's what makes you more than just a lover. That's what makes you the woman he can't stop thinking about. We've now uncovered the full 5 reasons men fantasize about finishing on you. But in the next part, I'm going to tie it all together in a way that hits home. I'm going to show you how this single fantasy reveals a much larger truth about men, intimacy, and connection. And I'll give you a blueprint for how to use this knowledge to make any man crave you, not just physically, but emotionally, obsessively, relentlessly. So now you know the 5 deep reasons behind this fantasy: his craving for surrender, his primal urge to possess, his addiction to visual proof, his longing for acceptance, and the thrill of taboo. On the surface, it might look like just another male fetish, but by now you see it's not about the act itself, it's about what it represents. And here's where I want to take you even deeper, because this isn't just about why men fantasize about finishing on you. It's about what this reveals about men in general, about how they think, how they feel, and what they're really searching for in intimacy. When you decode this one fantasy, you unlock a master key that explains almost every other desire he has. Let me explain the bigger truth about men's fantasies. Every male fantasy, no matter how wild or taboo, comes down to one of 3 needs: the need to feel powerful, the need to feel accepted, the need to escape. When he imagines finishing on you, he's combining all 3. He feels powerful because it's raw, visible, primal. He feels accepted if you welcome it, because it proves you embrace all of him. And he escapes from the weight of control, because for that brief moment, he surrenders fully. This is why fantasies matter so much. They're not just dirty thoughts. They're windows into the male psyche. And if you want to be unforgettable to a man, you can't just touch his body. You have to touch the psychology behind his fantasies. That's what makes him addicted to you. That's what makes him stay. How to use this fantasy to build desire now? Let's move from understanding to application. Because knowledge is power, but only if you know how to use it. Here's how you can actually take this fantasy and turn it into a tool for deeper intimacy and connection. Step 1 is acknowledge his hidden desires. Most men never openly share their fantasies. They fear rejection, ridicule, or judgment. So if you're the woman who creates space for him to talk about what turns him on, without shaming him, you instantly separate yourself from everyone else. The next time you're in an intimate moment, you could say something like, "Tell me one thing you've always wanted to try but never told anyone." That one question can unlock a floodgate. And if he admits his fantasy of finishing on you, you don't even have to say yes immediately. Just listening, smiling, and saying, "Interesting, I love knowing what goes on in your head," already bonds him to you. Because suddenly he feels seen instead of judged. Step 28 tease him with anticipation, even if you're not sure you'd want to do it. You can still use the fantasy to drive him crazy. Tease him with words. Play with the idea. Whisper things like, "You want us so badly, don't you?" Or, "I can tell you're imagining it right now." This works because men live in their imaginations. The build up, the suggestion, the tease, it often turns them on more than the act itself. By playing with his fantasy, you're giving him the thrill without even having to commit. Step 3, if you do it, make it count. If you ever decide to let him live this fantasy, remember what matters most isn't the act, it's your reaction. Your energy is everything. If you look uncomfortable, he'll feel ashamed. If you're neutral, he'll feel like it was just allowed. But if you lean into it, if you look him in the eyes, breathe heavy, smile like you love it, you'll give him an experience he'll never forget. Because it's not just that you let him do it, it's that you celebrated it with him. And that combination of permission, cess, enthusiasm is like rocket fuel for male desire. Step 4, anchor it into emotional connection. Here's where you rise above the physical and turn it into something unshakable. After the act, don't just clean up and move on. Pull him close. Kiss him. Tell him, "I love seeing you lose yourself with me like that." Do you see what that does? You're taking something he might secretly feel shame about and reframing it as a source of intimacy. You're saying, "Your deepest desire doesn't scare me. It brings us closer." And that creates trust. Trust is the glue that keeps a man coming back again and again. Step 5, they mix playfulness with depth. The best lovers don't just take sex seriously. They also make it fun. If you can finish a taboo moment like this with laughter, teasing, or a playful kiss, you disarm all the heaviness around it. You turn what could have been awkward into something joyful and bonding. Remember, the couples who last are the ones who can play together, not just perform together. The ripple effect of embracing his fantasies Now, here's the part most women don't realize. When you embrace even one of his fantasies, it changes how he treats you everywhere else. Why? Because men mirror energy. When you give him freedom, he gives it back. When you accept him, he becomes more accepting of you. When you make him feel safe in his desires, he makes you feel safe in yours. So by leaning into this fantasy, you're not just giving him pleasure, you're setting the tone for your entire relationship. You're showing him this is a space where we can be raw, real, and fearless together. And when a man feels that with a woman, he doesn't just desire her, he worships her. A story that says it all. Let me leave you with a story I once heard from a man who shared this exact fantasy. He said, "I'd always wanted to finish on a woman, but I never told anyone. I thought it would sound gross or selfish. Then one night, my girlfriend looked at me and whispered, 'Do it. I want to see you let go.' When it happened, I looked at her, half expecting her to look disgusted, but she just smiled and kissed me. In that moment, I didn't just feel turned on. I felt loved. I felt like she accepted the part of me I never thought I could show anyone. I've never loved a woman more in my life than I did in that moment." That's the power of understanding fantasies. They're never just about sex. They're about what sex represents. The final truth. So why do men secretly fantasize about finishing on you? Because it's not just about lust. It's about psychology. It's about surrender, possession, visual proof, acceptance, and taboo. But at the deepest level, it's about freedom. The freedom to be himself fully, messily, unapologetically with you. And if you can give him that freedom, if you can meet his fantasies not with judgment, but with curiosity, playfulness, and acceptance, then you don't just become another woman in his life. You become the woman who gave him the one thing he craves more than anything else, the permission to be real. That, more than any act, is what makes a man fall. That's what makes him stay. That's what makes him never forget you. If this opened your eyes and gave you a new way of seeing men, don't just stop here. Hit that subscribe button right now, because every single day I'm giving you the secrets to not only understand men, but to actually create the kind of intimacy and passion that makes him obsessed with you. And trust me, once you know these truths, you'll never have to wonder where you stand with a man again. Subscribe and let's build the love life you truly deserve together.